So we're going to do continue with the next lesson, um, introductions, let's call it that. So just to review again, we're going to go with the Project neXt spectrum, and this is just your spectrum of comfort, where you find yourself. Entry to adoption, adaptation, infusion, and transformation. And just as a review, entry is you're just starting, you're just getting into it, you're just trying to figure it out. And you can apply this to anything. You can apply this to the 6 competencies that we're going to use. You can apply this to just about any sort of endeavor or of evolution. Adoption is when you've just started to use the skills or the ideas that are there. Adaptation is really, I think, the most key one, and what people should be aiming for if they're just starting out is this is when you start to change, when your teaching or when your practice starts to change and adapt based on the focus that you're having. Infusion is when you really find it in everything, and it's not just about consciously trying to do something. It's that you're doing it through most of the things you're doing. And then transformation is that total infusion has occurred, and then now it has transformed really everything that you do. So we're going to do this with the first competency. Like I said, there's 6 competencies, and only one of them is use of ICT. But you can use communication technology, computers, iPads, whatever, throughout all of these. And it's really not about the technology; it's about the skills. And these are the skills that are the ITL research has focused on and said that this is what our 21st century learners need. So let's take a look. Collaboration, and that's the first one. And this is obviously a huge key. This is a big focus of our board as well. So what are the big ideas that are along collaboration? It's the idea of working together, obviously. Here's a key element. It's shared responsibility. So it's not just working in groups, working together. So it's not working in groups necessarily, just groups, but working together. And we're going to get into a little bit more what that means. Shared responsibility, it means that the project can't finish without everyone doing it. Substantive decisions together. These are big decisions, and not just big decisions, but decisions that build on other decisions. They're made together. And then here's the big key. This is really the key here: interdependent work. Not independent work, and not even dependent work. It's interdependent, meaning that you literally, an individual literally could not complete the task, could not solve the problem, could not address the question without their teammates, without that collaboration. So that's what we're looking at. So let's take a look at the spectrum again. And this is the first time you're going to see this. And there's a few different versions of this. But basically how this works is simply a flow chart. And you ask yourselves these questions. So you ask yourself the first question. If the answer to your first question is no, then you're at the entry level. If your answer to your first question is yes, then you move down and ask the next question. So this is, if you were to take a lesson, just one lesson, that you thought you would want to focus on collaboration, and then ask yourself these questions and be honest. And you can't skip questions. You got to go in order. And that's how this flow works. It's all, this isn't just, we didn't just make this up. This came from, like I said, research through 7 different countries. So the students are required to work in pairs or in groups. Notice the wording here, required. They have to work in groups or pairs. They can't all work individually. Again, you don't want to do this with every single lesson. That's not fair to the students, and that's not a good idea anyway. It's not really practical either. But if you're going to work on collaboration, it would make, if your focus is collaboration and you have to be overt about that collaboration, obviously they should be working together. So if you can answer yourself, if you answer the first question yes or no, then you're at entry level. You're just at entry. If they're not working in pairs or in groups, you're not doing collaboration. Now, yes, move on to the second question. Do students have shared responsibility? And this is really where the teacher's role comes in, and that you're doling out responsibility, and that you're monitoring and making sure that their responsibility are shared, and it's not all on one student, and that they are able to articulate that responsibility and then able to go with it. If you don't think that you're quite there yet, and really what we often see with group work is 4 kids get together, they figure out what their presentation is going to be on, they divide tasks into 4 different things, and then they start going at it, and there's not really a shared responsibility. They each have responsibility, but it's not really shared yet. So you're at adoption level if you were to say no to that. If you say yes, you move on down. The students make substantive decisions together. So I would like that word to be highlighted or underlined. They're making decisions. This is not about you as the teacher making all the decisions and just handing out roles, and the students then perform those roles. Okay, that's not what this is about. They're making decisions as to what they're going to do, how they're going to approach things. Those are substantive decisions, and they're making them together. It's not just a dictator who rules the roost, gives everybody their jobs, and then expects them to come back. So again, this is big. This is a different one, because usually I would know most of the projects that I did had me, or at least they had to report to me exactly what all the rules were, or all the roles were, and I would say, here, somebody has to be this, somebody has to be this, like, someone has to be the recording secretary, somebody has to be the reporter, somebody has to be the graphic person. The idea of them making substantive decisions is that they're assigning those roles. And then, is the students' work interdependent? Here's the key. Not just that they work together, not just they have conversations about things, not just that they collaborate and work on a problem together. It's that they're interdependent. This is tough to do. This is not this is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. This is tough. And the idea here is that they're connected to a point where they couldn't finish the work together without each other. A great example that I heard from one teacher was who was doing robotics, or they were building a robot, or some sort of a function, and he would individually do lessons on different parts, on the electrical, on the structure, with individual people in a group, and then they'd have to go back and teach the rest of the group. So you couldn't actually finish the work. They couldn't complete the task, build the robot, whatever it was that they were doing. You couldn't do that if each individual didn't take it seriously and didn't know his or her role. Very much, this is a great sports analogy here, in that everybody needs to be working together. Truly, a team is interdependent. They're interdependent on each other doing what they're going to do. You could say, in hockey, your goalie might be your most important person, but the best you could do there is a 0-0 tie. You need someone else to score goals, and vice versa. And so everyone's working together. That's really collaboration. That's the truest form of it, and so that's what we need. What does that look like? Really depends on the assignment. Depends on what you're doing with it. But this is the idea. Now, again, sorry. The idea here is, don't think about every single unit, every single assignment, every single project that I do in the class. I have to have collaboration, and I have to try to get down to transformational level. That's not what it is. What you want to be is overt and purposeful about it. This is a big this is the big catchphrase in education, is to be purposeful or to be deliberate in your teaching. And so the idea here is that if you need to identify, I would hope that the 21st century teacher is looking and saying, these are the 6 competencies, and we'll get into all of them, but one of them is collaboration. And where am I going to find collaboration? In my units, in my assignments? Okay, so now I'm going to be sculpting and creating and setting up a situation in which this collaboration occurs. You're being overt, you're being direct, you're being deliberate in what you're doing, and here's some ways to help along the way. Again, this is not evaluative. This is for you to reflect on it and say, okay, where do I find myself? And then the great thing about these is, okay, if I find myself here, do students have shared responsibility? No, not really. Well, then I know what to do. Now I know that this is where I'm going to focus on, and the packages that we'll go into a little bit more detail at some point, maybe in the end of the year or next year, will give you a little bit more detail of what that looks like. But now you have a tangible idea of what you need to do to move to the next level. That's all we're going to think about. Again, that's one of the 6 competencies of the next lesson, is collaboration.